I hope everyone is well. So I'm back, hopefully. I have seen multiple comments and I thank you for that. I thank anyone who's a new subscriber. I'm going to try and acknowledge the comments that I've seen that I've not been able to during the last 10 days. And I'm back to doing readings. This is obviously appreciation for my subscribers, and that's why I will be acknowledging comments. I do appreciate if you're resonating with the readings that you do subscribe and help the channel. It's been, I think over a year I've been working on the channel constantly, putting out videos, and just the algorithm is a bit ruthless, and without any give back it can be quite draining. Now, this update is to thank those that have made constructive comments or come back to the reading and give me validation on some of the things I've stated. Some of them I'll mention because I did see the comments. I was very busy with clients, but at the same time, after my day, I was also, I'd travelled, I don't mean overseas, but up to see some family where there was some you know how it is, sometimes there's things that go on, and so you just need to be present. So it's been a bit busy on one front, but not necessarily on the YouTube front. So there will be readings coming out. There will be, if you're a Leo, Cancer, and I can't remember what other sign, I did a reading which I was going to put out a couple of days ago, but I feel the time is right when I schedule that. So if you are, and then I'll be back to your sign readings. I'm also going to be back to doing, I feel like a lot of people like the crime readings. So I will be doing that. And this one is actually going to be checking on Sebastian because I think a lot has happened, but not a lot substantial, to be honest with you. And I also just want to go through some of the things that might be validated within my readings from the first reading and the channeling. Especially those that came on the channeling and said, how do you know Sebastian? I don't have a comment to that. I think you need to understand what channeling is. And so constructive comments I will be answering. Some of them really made me smile, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate those of you that have come back to validate as well. I don't always remember every minute detail when I do my readings, and I don't go back to I don't go back to remember what I said. I don't go back to watch my readings either. So I'm going to run through what I actually know tidbits about, and also those of you that follow the channel for your sign readings that are used to having weekly readings, they will be coming back, and so I appreciate you supporting your readings to make sure you have the consistency of the readings. Otherwise, I feel like the energy put out is not reciprocated in a way. So views, likes, engagement is really, really necessary. And there's some of you that just constantly put an appreciation, and I feel blessed for those people. So what do we have here now with Sebastian? Let's go through some of the things that I remember through the comments that I'm going to validate, or I'm going to actually acknowledge everyone's comments. In terms of a membership, I think I have to reach 1000k. Like if I did, I would have done this live, to be honest, so that we can go through some questions, and also I can ask you what we've got. But I understand that I'd mentioned, I do believe there's something else within Sebastian, and I believed in one of the readings or the channeling that I felt there was, like, I think in the second reading, and then I might have mentioned it in the channeling, about some fluid that goes down from his head all the way down. I could feel it down his eyes and maybe onto his chest, but there's definitely something extra in his head. And either a subscriber or someone kindly came back to the reading and said, yes, it's brain fluid that Sebastian was born with. So that's one validation to those people that say, do I know Sebastian? I still was getting, wasn't I, chest suffocation or strangulation, the head area being significant. And I did get, I don't know if I mentioned it, a thigh, side of the thigh. Maybe he had a thud on the side of the thigh. And when I was thinking of this note that I made, I can't remember what I mentioned in the channel, in the reading or the channeling, or if I got to do this. By the time I felt it was more or less on the right side, we got a validation after I did the channeling of, I mentioned that I kept getting, I wanted to say mother, and I would get the stepmother that would come forward. And I think it was a few days later, like maybe 4 to 7 days later, the stepmother came forward and she said, I haven't seen that video, by the way, so I don't know what she said, but someone kindly wrote, or a couple of people wrote, the stepmother has come forward and spoken. So again, to those that mentioned, do I know Sebastian? No, I don't, but obviously there's validation in my channeling and readings. And again, I can't control when I channel spirit what they want to bring forward, nor do I want to put pressure on a 15-year-old boy who will be still in a healing phase. To be his voice, I would like his voice to come through me. And so maybe you didn't, you know, a lot of people, not a lot of people, a couple of people put this is not helpful. Maybe it's not helpful for you because you wanted a direct messaging on maybe exactly where, the degree of the area, and etc. But key things when you channel spirit, often they will not tell you exactly to protect certain individuals, even if the individual did it. Now go back to my channeling, I kept asking about a certain individual in the channeling and there'd be a blank, and then eventually there was one sentence that said, he loves my mum. And we can see that because the mother and the stepfather, they very much are in sync with what they say. Like even the stepfather wasn't supposed to be there, but he's very much in sync with the knowing what happened, which you know, their bond seems to be quite strong. And I had mentioned that the father is quiet, but he will come out a lot more, and he has. Now, in the last sort of mini clip I did, I was asking about the flashlights. And the reason I was asking about the flashlights is because I was really trying to tie in whether I really felt strongly that there's held back information from us. Now, a couple of points here, I hope I don't forget the second point that I want to mention, is that that withholding or lack of information is causing so much spiral. And I've decided to go really back to my readings and channeling because I still don't understand how, if the house was searched thoroughly, how maybe the cadaver dogs didn't pick up on certain stuff. And that's fine because, for example, there might not be blood traces, but was there illuminate light used in the cars, in checking their cars in the house? I believe this is more of a civil case, but I think this also stops. Please allow me to move this because I've cleansed the area enough. And this is how my altar gets messy. 1 second. And so, you know, a dog had picked up on Sebastian's scent from the house to the pond, but then there's nothing. When that happened, I automatically think the police would have checked, investigated the house, the cars, the digital. I think in the first reading I got that not far away there's a landmark of a tower, or, you know, electrical tower, but I'm not sure. I need to go back to my reading to see that, or if anyone has or does go back to reading to see the landmarks, let me know, because I I'm not sure if it was in Madeline Soto, but I feel like it's coming through. I still feel very strong earth element with Sebastian. I know a lot of people are saying water. And I think in the second reading, I also mentioned what could be nearby. So the deaf dog, the cadaver dog, didn't pick up on the scent, or picked up on Sebastian's scent again. Police wording in terms of deaf scent or alive scent is not mentioned. So if it's a deaf scent, that would be very clear. From the house, he was left dead, unalived. This is for entertainment purposes only. All the disclaimers are in the description box. All my videos are for entertainment purposes only. This is a disclaimer that has to be said. Use your own fact finding. The police and law enforcement are there to hold accountable guilty parties. This is only my opinion. Thank you. And you know why statements like this are being said. And if it is scent of him being alive, then what happened? Did he fall in the pond and drown? I'm saying this not believing that. I still stand by my readings. But then why was the pond not searched back then? All we know is that the landfill where the garbage goes was searched. But from what I understand is that they're searching it again, or they did search it again. Now with that, it's very difficult because landfills actually get crushed. I think like tractors or stuff go over them to crush everything to make it more flat. And also decompose. And so you can imagine how hard over time it would be. And I think they went to the landfill earlier because, is it the garbage man said the garbage was a bit heavier that day. There was multiple things that after the flashlights and the dogs, the reason I was asking is because I was trying to take what we understand from the police to tie it up, but I feel like there's too much unsaid, and too much. I'll tell you the problem with this story, with this case. There wasn't proper media coverage, like the news coverage on this case. What blew this case up is social media and people being upset. And now if you Google, I see more podcasters, more readers, more people covering this than the news and the media, as you can see. So that in itself is a big issue because opinions get thrown in there as well. And there's a lot of silence around facts. What I do want to say though is that it is a missing persons case. And so does that mean, as opposed to a criminal case now, which it should be, that certain investigation techniques have not been used, like Illumini? I still believe, I couldn't believe at the beginning that phones would not have been checked thoroughly. And so I always mentioned, like, a surveillance camera or camera has information, a digital has information, a clue. I've been very, very direct, and it came in the channeling that the father knows. The other thing I wanted to ask you is, so the little things I know that is, since then, glasses have been said that they could not be Sebastian's were found. I don't know, the pond or the garbage or the landfill. There's been SA abuse when Sebastian was 8 years old. The father came out with that. Is it true that the father took a polygraph test and he was falling asleep? That was something that came up as a thumbnail title. A lot of the crime documentaries go on for like 2.5 hours, and I wanted to see one that could be like 20 minutes that covers all the updates, but it's not possible. So I've been looking at the thumbnails, and I know that everyone following the case will know clearly in terms of that. So I really would like to know if it's not a civil case, sorry, it's homicide cases are of state interest, and we need to remember that. So families sometimes don't get a lot of details on what's happening in the background, so they might not have all the details that can be stated, and especially where social media and us are sparking something not being right with the mother and the stepfather. Okay, so things will be held enough so that there's enough protection of evidence, so in those homicide cases. But I just wonder whether the labeling of the case investigation is actually not benefiting us time-wise, because maybe certain techniques, if it was a criminal case, would be investigated. And usually I would have thought like mobile phones, etc., would have been, sort of checked. But it seems like sometimes we think obvious stuff should have been checked, and it's not checked from what I see. Like, for example, Elijah Vu's blanket was found a couple of days later. We didn't know till 2 weeks later. Some things that have been coming out, that police held information to protect such cases and evidence, which is needed. I also mentioned that I do think that there's pressure on the marriage. There was something that could come up as a secondary or third item in terms of, what did I want to say? Possibly the mother and the stepfather, wanting to have their own family, and pregnancy. And I think it was just yesterday, someone made a comment that she was randomly stating that it won't be a pretty sight if she was pregnant in jail. So I think that can be a validation. But sort of, if you've got a child who's autistic, requires a lot of your energy, then how are you going to deal with having building your own family with this new, a new family with the mother and the stepfather? And also, I still feel there's a monetary element here. Now, that questions certain things, because the insurance is in the to the father, but is there a benefit that was being paid? I'm not fully clear, and I think they're stating that Sebastian was going to go live with his father in the summer. Has Seth actually said that, or was he going to be there for like summer holidays or live there permanently? So, there's something around that. But I do think this case is something that it's not premeditated that evening kind of thing, but it's been kind of thought, it's crossed the minds for those reasons that I've mentioned. And then there was a snapping, within this period of time. I also came to know there was a thud at 9 p.m, which a thud is a heavy word to use for, I don't know, I think in England we would use there was a bang, and you would check that. Or you'd say there's a bang, but usually that's so-and-so, jumping on their bed before they go to sleep, they tend to, or something like that. But she didn't check it. So is that a time frame? I also mentioned about dark clothes, the word dark, that got to me. And I do think, all of them were wearing dark that evening. Okay, there's still not clarity on the stepfather's exact whereabouts. Was he there? Wasn't he there? And I feel that transparency has not been very transparent, actually, the time frame. Over this period of time while I've been away, I've seen that there's been a lot of damage control in terms of reputation, clear up my reputation. And so going on social media to answer questions. And I think that was the stepfather. And within that reading that I wanted to do after flashlights was actually, is he liking the attention as well as trying to clear the sort of his image and reputation? Because, sometimes you go on for a purpose to do something, but then you suddenly have all this attention around you and you start to like it. And that's what I was sensing from him. Because I feel like he might be that type of person that likes to be like the grandiose, recognized person. So the glasses is still not 100% sure. The one thing that I do want to mention, you know, with it still being labelled as a missing case, and I'm recording this and I'm putting it up. As soon as it's processed, I'm putting it up. It'll be scheduled as a premiere maybe a couple of hours later, or whenever you see it scheduled if you're a subscriber. And so anything from this time onwards, but also there'll be stuff that I'm not up to date with. And I'm sure, and I do have notes from the video that I wanted to do that I didn't catch to do, unfortunately, because of my busy schedule, and then a few days later needing to be present with family and, you know, balancing everything out. So what I wanted to say is, you know, looking in a pond and looking in a garbage fill or a landfill and stuff like that really indicates to me that they know they're looking for potentially an unalived body, because from the beginning there's not been, and I think that's been pushed by social media, and I wonder if they would have been so proactive. Now also I understand when the Cajun Navy came in, I think did the forces step back, they didn't continue, but for me what it would be that knocking around the neighborhood, and I don't know if that occurred, straight away knocking around the neighborhood, investigating, you know, a missing boy has gone missing, have you seen this boy? And then, you know, certain stuff like that, which means that they're looking for a missing boy, whereas it's labeled as a certain case, and evidence is being protected for homicide cases, but they're looking in places that would indicate to me a criminal case, an unalived case. So, you know, it's not showing to me that they're looking for a missing person, yet it's labeled as a missing person. So that for me tells me that they, you know, either social media has pushed them in this direction, you know, or they do have evidence of knowing something strange is going on. This 3-hour call that I heard, it happened between the stepmother and stepfather. Was that like before she went to bed, her usual call, or was that after? I don't know if it was after Sebastian, but 3 hours, pretty long time. Like, you know, do you really need to speak to someone 3 hours? That's really a really long time. I mean, even if you're guilty of something, 3 hours is a really long time, unless you're on the way to doing something, disregarding something, the person is with you constantly on the line. That's the only thing, because talking to someone 3 hours is just a long time in any situation or case. I also remember from the start and within the channeling, we need to remain focused. It's there, and I think I got the date 25th of April that was coming through to me, so that around that date there might be some form of breakthrough or key information. I might check on what the stepmother said, but you know, there's been a validation of my readings and channeling to date, which is great to know. There's something that I find also a bit questionable, is that 911 or 999 was not called, the police was not called when she found Sebastian missing, and it was the stepfather that called, and it was the sheriff's department, and the sheriff's department in another state or something. That to me is a bit strange. I know they gave a reason, but is the recording of calls to the emergency line different to the sheriff's department? I mean, I think there should be a recording of calls to the sheriff department, but there's something there that I think it was done on purpose. So I question, has there been looking into enough digital evidence? I also got you know, in the channeling, I got Sebastian saying to me, Bob's your uncle. So we need to look out for that, because it might indicate if it gets stated or something, it might indicate whatever's stated comes out, but it's kind of like Bob's your uncle, it's just gonna click, or something is gonna click. I can't remember where I said it, but I remember it came through, and I thought it was a bit strange for it to come through to me. But yeah, I'd appreciate if you can let me know if the dad did fall asleep during a polygraph reading, because that to me is a bit concerning. And again, a lot of it might not be proof, it might be what's stated in the media. Now, I know that there's someone called Nancy Grace on YouTube that is covering this. And I think when I did the flashlights after that, someone had put something about Nancy Grace, and I did look her up. Quite a feisty lady, and I think a lot of people would say, but that's needed. It is needed, but if I was a mother that was innocent, I would not appreciate being spoken to like that, I'll be honest with you, and I probably would not go back. But I can see why she's doing it. But even with the people that come in to support her information, like the people that are, I don't know, lead investigators, etc., she's quite very direct and forceful, and I think it might work for some people, but yeah, I'll leave it there. So let's just get back into the energy, and let's see. I've been told to split the deck. Queen of Swords, investigations, looking into things, analyzing things, focusing on details. This bird is getting my attention like a hawk, hawking into the details. This can also be the government officials. If you see here, we've got red flags and we've got like amber flags here. We've got also a blue one, but I believe there are red flags of evidence that is being hidden from us. Oh, I mentioned, I was just thinking, who's the hawk? What does TBI stand for in the US? I know that that's being thrown around. Because I think, was it Sebastian was hit with a belt. Now, at first, this was, I think, mentioned a couple of years ago, but more recently or something, it was mentioned when he was 15, so a few months before he disappeared. But I think I'm getting with the hawk, like TBI are watching with a hawk, but also in the background, but also you've got the police and the government officials here. A lot of analyzing, a lot of mental energy, ready to put up that sword, ready to cut through bullshit and wave, but not quite yet. Okay. So let's look at the energy of the dad right now. Seth Rogers, energy right now. Remember, energy can change. Sometimes we feel in a moment, in a day, happy or a bit more relaxed, positive, and then other days we can feel worse, right? The Knight of Swords wanted to pop out, which tells me he just wants to rush in and get to the end of this. And I'm also getting the thing of rushing towards Sebastian. Eight of Cups, Page of Cups, Four of Swords, the Hanged Man, the Moon. I wasn't sure if that was reversed, but I put it up, and the Nine of Pentacles. Bottom of the deck is the Six of Swords. Eight of Cups is, so in this reading, I'm going to channel what I get with the reading. It might not be exactly the definition of the card. He's not turning his back on this. He's not turning his back on Sebastian. But I think he's trying not to turn his back on Sebastian being alive. But he's finding that really hard. He's finding it really hard to let go and release that thought. I feel like it's slowly releasing from him, where he understands that Sebastian is probably unalived. And it's a shedding of that. There's a shedding of also abandonment and disappointment in this. This is where he's coming to some sort of realization that, and feeling stuck, that Sebastian may well be unalive. And if you look at this, I remember I got earth element, like I said, and look, hollow. I think I got the word hollow in the first reading. Hollow ground. Feeling a bit stuck, hoping that something comes to light, something that was hidden or is hidden. The fear comes to truth. Now it's interesting, the moon is the 18 card, and together it brings to a 9, which brings us to the 9 of Pentacles. This is the fears that are blocking, and the difficulty of here I feel separating the illusion from reality, and the inability to process what could be the reality, a bit of confusion, anxiety, fear. There might be something here where he wants to bring some more things to life. I know he dropped a bombshell of the SA that had occurred. I don't know what the mother said in response to that. I might look to see if there is a response. I think he feels a pressure to have this image of being successful in this, finding his son, and he needs to let go of that thought, you know, feeling that pressure of, I don't mean it in a bad way, but trying to have that image of success. I don't mean it in trying to have an image of, how can I explain this? I don't mean that he really, really cares about what people think, but he also wants to be that breakthrough in the case. And there's an element of here of needing to release the disappointment and coming to reality of what could be the outcome of the case, and moving from that, this energy a little bit more peacefully, but moving away from the anxiety and the sleepless nights that he has been feeling, because there will be a breakthrough here on what has not been seen, and there's going to be a couple of key questions that are going to be juggled. There's also an element of key individuals that their ego needs to probably be managed. I do get there is sort of digital evidence, like a text or some things that could come through. He knows that he requires the inner strength of possibly letting go, and that his life is heading in a new chapter, you know, with the possibility that Sebastian is not alive, and he is trying to release what feels like the idea of an absolute nightmare of Sebastian being, can you see this, buried and unalived. But in some, he still has that little bit of hope, but it's getting darker and darker, and this is where we see this energy I've just explained. Okay. Let's go to the mother's energy right now. The other thing I wanted to mention is that after I did the flashlight reading, or in the flashlight readings, that small reading of like 10 minutes, I mentioned about there was movement. They were going to be on the move, okay? And I did mention possibly maybe state borders and stuff. But what I heard like a couple of days later was that the mother had left the house with the father to join him going to his work. And I think they were going to live in his, is it like a caravan or a van that he stays in? So that is validation there of that came through as well. And also, I don't know, is she back home? What is the latest on that, or is she still away? But that was coming through in that reading where I said I'm getting a lot of downloads, which I will do in my further video. But that's what you know, came up a couple of days later, which is interesting. Let's look at the mother's energy at the moment. By the way, I just want to say that when I said that I wanted to do this reading to get back into the energy, Sebastian's face came in front of me, and it's just come again. That's how I remembered. And he was smiling. And I'm getting a bit emotional here, but he was smiling, which was lovely to see. Yeah, so, you know, also if anything else in terms of channeling, I might do further channeling. And I'm getting the word yes from him. So the mother's energy is the Two of Wands, the Star card, interesting. And I'm getting to, what is the mother's star sign, by the way? Because I'm getting told, as I was looking at the cards and thinking of this card, I'm getting told don't forget to represent Aquarius. So an Aquarius might be significant in this. I think, let me just focus on the question. Knight of Swords. We saw that that was going to pop out for Ten of Cups, the Temperance, that happy family that I was mentioning. I've got more notes, but I think I'm going to have to leave it. Oh, the Moon has come in reverse as well. I think Seth was also feels like the mother is very much hiding a lot, which we know. Ten of Wands in reverse, the World card, the Knight of Wands, and the Eight of Pentacles. Two more cards, please, Spirit, if you wish. The Page of Cups in reverse, and the Knight of Cups in reverse. If you remember in the dads, we got the Knight of Cups here, and we've got here the inner strength, okay? That's needed at this moment in time. Interesting, there's a lamb here. What this means is a newborn, a birthing, a newborn. I'm getting coming back to the idea that there could be a thought of pregnancy, okay, in upcoming energies, or, you know, something like that. There is fear here. You know, she's got fear blocking her. And there was a heavy burden. There was a heavy burden here, but she seems to have released some kind of heavy burden. And I wonder if that was the thought of Sebastian, completion of his life, and then thinking freed with a new passion to go forward on stuff. The Page of Cups in reverse and the Knight of Cups in reverse. Here, you know, she's very much protecting her heart, and I think this comes to why it's happened, was protecting her heart. And with the Page of Cups in reverse, it's missing the signs and being overly sensitive. At the time, you know, I'm getting at the time, but I mean, I'm current energy, what I'm trying to ask about, but I mean, it could be, there was childish emotions, and missing the signs, you know, and being overly sensitive. Maybe this was her emotions that are not in check, protecting her heart, and moodiness and negative emotions. There's a disappointment here that, you know, we've got inner strengths here. I want to go to this card. Yeah, look, Lovers. You know, there was choices, there was clear choices here. This is why I said it goes back to the energy, letting go of a heavy burden. Now the Two of Wands is where you plan forward, and in this case, it's in reverse. So there's insecurities and there are fear here. She's got insecurities and fear, and she's being stuck in the past of, you know, obviously Sebastian's missing case. She's not living her life at the moment, trying to go. She's probably trying to go forward, but she's kind of stuck. She's stuck and she's worried at the moment. And then we've got the Star card, which is 1 and 7 and 8, and we've got the I'm connecting it to this. There's that hope to rush forward with the happy family. There's patience that's needed, and there's temperance energy here of Sagittarius that's needed. Sagittarius, again, I'd like to know her star sign. We've got other strong signs here. We've got the World that could represent all signs. We've got Aquarius, we've got Gemini, we've got Pisces, but in hopes to healing, you know, there is a lot of fear here. There's a lot of being blocked, but there's a hope here to rush forward to this happy family situation, but it currently needs patience, okay? And then there's this fear that she's in, and she's holding information back of what her burden was, which was the completion of, and then rushing forward into working on what they've wanted, the inner strength, okay, and the rebirthing of the new clear choices here. She had emotional blocks, okay, definitely missing the signs, okay, and it was around also choices and love here. So mixed energies here. Sun card, the Devil, the 8 of Swords, the 7 of Cups. Hoping for a success through this. Yet there are things that are holding her back. You know, obviously the fears, the confusion. What should be the next step? What should be our next step of covering up, masking, making sure that, you know, I feel here there's, okay, so with them, what I've said, there's professional know-how on what they've done. What I mean by that is cover up. I've said it from the beginning, and I continue to get it. This professional, and I've mentioned it in some of the description boxes, know-how of covering up. And by the way, what she knows is haunting her. What she's done, what she knows, whatever it is haunting her. But what they've been able to do, because social media has taken a grasp into covering it, so many opinions, etc., there's been able to dissipate what area, what thing to focus on. And again, we were getting that in, and can you see there's so much to focus. Where do we go? Do we go up here? Do we go here? Do we choose this? And that's what they've been really good at doing. But at the same time, they're now analyzing what direction, what they need to do next. Sun card, connecting to success with, you know, I always feel like this seems to be Chris Proudfoot. Again, the happy home, happy family, but also I see this as a monetary. And maybe it's not losing Chris Proudfoot, who is a bit of a stability for her. I don't know how much he makes, but maybe what she feels is her gift in life. But still on the defense. And a Tower moment will come in to rush things forward in the right direction. Clarifying the Devil a bit more is the Emperor. The Emperor, I think in the first reading I got was Seth Rogers. So I think they see him as an opponent. And she's got a lot of mixed negative emotions as well. So very strong characters here head to head. I actually want to clarify this a bit more, but I wanted to go into Chris Proudfoot's energy for you. So let's see how much space I've got on the camera. Okay, let's pull a bit more cards, because I also wanted to pull cards on the energy of the police. Let's pull some more cards on this. I feel like I want to pull some more cards. I forgot to use this deck for the father as well. I wanted to use it. Let's see. The mother, Katie, current energy. Opa! Impatience, and we see the patience card that's needed here. Destiny is going to pan out, and there's growth. Now it's interesting when I look, and there's playing the victim here. This is actually playing the victim, you know, playing the victim. When I look at this card, I'm actually seeing this as, it doesn't mean that. It's growth in terms of, obviously we grow, we go through stages. I'm seeing it like the imprisonment that will, the imprisonment will be the growth in terms of what we need on our journey, like the destiny. There's guilt here. Now, when I read this for our tarot readings, I interpret it differently, but there's guilt. And there's this trying to iron things out in a straight way. Now, if you look closely, very interesting, someone who's bound, who's held, who's felt held, and maybe, you know, this is what I mean in terms of burdened, attached, and pressure on her for the relationship to go in the right direction or continue in the right direction. Impatience here. A patience is needed, otherwise you might just trip and fall. Interesting. Her destiny will come. And I see it here. I see this is her, and the J I mentioned, or prison I mentioned. And these are the people that are already there. Current status of playing victim. Regardless, by the way, okay, there is information held. Regardless of the outcome of this, there is information that both of them are holding, that they know more of what happened to Sebastian. Let's get the father's energy right now. That went flying out over across. I can't see it. I'm going to have to get out. The father's energy. Can you remember what I was saying about the father? feeling the need to accept the possibility of the situation he's not wanted to accept. We have perception. I had it in reverse. So yeah, the perception of what he was hoping to find. Heart chakra alive. You see the aliving of the birth around her, which he's probably needed to change that thought. And expansion was in reverse as well, and rejection was upright. So the need, you know, I'm getting here, expand the horizons of the search in a focused way. I don't mean to be, not in a scattered way, but there's also expansion of his voice here, and we've seen that, and that's coming through. Expansion of also action and powerful alliances. Being that wise counsel, also being guided, making sure you have the right connections around you. Rejection is really where we need to let go of working against your current environment, is how I read it usually. But I think he's feeling quite isolated at this moment in time. And he needs to not get so isolated where he excludes himself, because people around him and the right people are going to help the action go forward. And his voice of expansion, I think, will be coming through, but having the right alliances. And then his perception that he is holding on to, he might need to accept a bit of a change. Look, that one day they'll be together. Splitting the deck for the mother's energy of this card, self-worth. I would say she probably has an issue with self-worth. Interesting, we're getting the completion card as well. I wonder if she had a father wound. But also a lot of the outcome of this case is going to push her in a trajectory of knowing she was actually not a victim of whatever. I'm getting the word circumstances, and coming to the reality of that, and knowing that due to her part and stuff, that she wasn't attached the way she felt, and it could have been a different outcome, a completion in this case, had she mitigated emotions and her self-worth. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to do Chris in the next one with the rest of my notes. I'm also going to touch base on some more energies, see what else I get. I might do a check-in right now, again, in terms of maybe certain questions of, I think I put a question here actually. I think I put a question. So I might ask several other questions, but because of the time of the recording, I'm going to have to leave it here. But at least we get back into the energy. I need to get back into being up to date, but I've mentioned what I'm aware of. And thank you for everyone that's made comments. Again, I'm going to try to acknowledge them. I really today felt that, okay, I need to do the reading, and here it is directly for you on the first day I've had a chance to. So take care, everyone. Stay blessed, and bye for now.